60 degrees below zero, 2 feet of snow, over an inch of ice, and 48 major cities directly in the path. This is happening in less than 72 hours. I'm not exaggerating. Every single weather model is showing the exact same catastrophic setup, and the high pressure system driving this is at 1,054 millibars. To put that in perspective, anything over 1,030 is considered extreme. So we're looking at one of the strongest Arctic blasts in over a decade colliding with Gulf moisture. This storm could shut down everything from Texas to the Carolinas for multiple days, with some areas potentially losing power for over a week. What makes this particularly dangerous is how slowly it's going to move. We're talking about ice accumulation building up hour after hour with no relief. Before we dive into which cities are in the bullseye, drop your location in the comments right now, and I'll give you specific updates as this develops. I'm going to walk you through exactly when this arrives, which cities are in the bullseye, and what you need to do to prepare starting today. So here's what's happening, and this is honestly one of the most alarming winter storm setups I've tracked in the past 5 years. The most intense Arctic blast of the season is diving south from Canada, bringing life-threatening cold to the northern plains and upper Midwest. At the exact same time, massive amounts of Gulf moisture are surging north at unusually high levels to meet this Arctic air mass. When these two forces collide along a stationary front stretching from New Mexico all the way through Virginia, we get our winter storm. And here's the number that's making meteorologists' jaws drop. We're looking at a high pressure system of 1,054 millibars over South Dakota. To put that in perspective, anything over 1,030 is considered extremely strong. So 1,054 is basically off the charts and almost unprecedented. This massive high pressure is going to squeeze frigid air all the way down into the deep south, bringing freezing temperatures to the Gulf Coast. Now let me break down the timeline hour by hour, because understanding when this hits your area is critical for preparation. Friday morning, around 8 to 9 a.m. is when we start seeing the first signs of winter weather across western Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle. Light freezing rain and snow begin in these areas, but this is just the appetizer. The main event comes later in the day. By late Friday morning into early afternoon, scattered freezing rain and snow showers stretch from Little Rock and Memphis back into Tulsa and Oklahoma City. Even as far north as Wichita, Kansas starts seeing winter storm impacts, with light to moderate snow beginning to fall. Friday afternoon around 2 to 3 p.m. is when things really start to intensify across Oklahoma, Arkansas, northern Mississippi, and north central Texas. But here's where it gets serious. By 4 p.m. Friday, chaos is going to break loose because freezing rain hits during rush hour. Rush hour could be extremely dangerous if people aren't aware that ice is accumulating on roadways right at this critical time. Cities like Wichita Falls, Lubbock, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Little Rock, and Memphis all see freezing rain or snow by 4 p.m. Friday. Now, Dallas-Fort Worth is going to be slightly later. I don't think DFW sees the transition from rain to freezing rain until closer to 6 or 7 p.m. With that said, I do think almost every single school in Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Kansas will be closed on Friday. If you're in the DFW area, it's going to be more 50-50 depending on your school district, but many will play it safe. Very few roadways will be treated for this winter storm other than the main highways, which means secondary roads will be treacherous. Friday night is when freezing rain really ramps up across the Dallas-Fort Worth area, arriving sometime around 6 to 7 p.m. Moderate to heavy snow begins moving south towards Little Rock and Oklahoma City with accumulation rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. Little Rock and Memphis, you're both starting with freezing rain before eventually transitioning to snow, which creates major travel problems. Ice accumulation in these areas could lead to isolated power outages that could last for days due to the prolonged nature of this storm. By Friday night into early Saturday morning, this winter storm rapidly grows in size right along that stationary boundary. Freezing rain extends as far south as San Antonio, back through Waco, Huntsville, northern Mississippi, and along the entire I-20 corridor. Moderate to heavy freezing rain will be occurring Saturday morning from DFW back towards Shreveport and into northern Louisiana. Now let me get into specific cities, because this is where you really need to pay close attention to your area. Oklahoma City and Norman, you're looking at a dangerous combination of heavy snow and significant ice, potentially 6 to 12 inches of snow. Travel will be extremely hazardous, if not impossible, across the entire metro area from Friday evening straight through Sunday. Tulsa faces a similar situation with heavy snow and ice making roads completely impassable Friday night into Saturday morning. Wichita, Kansas, your main concern is heavy snow with accumulations potentially reaching 8 to 12 inches over a 24-hour period. Kansas City sits right on that critical edge between heavy snow to the north and ice to the south, where even a slight shift changes everything. A southward shift of just 50 miles could mean the difference between 10 inches of snow or crippling ice accumulation. Dallas-Fort Worth, after one of the warmest starts to winter on record, reality is about to hit hard this weekend. Freezing rain moves in Friday night and continues into Saturday, potentially causing widespread power outages across the entire metroplex. Ice accumulations of 1/4 to 1/2 an inch are possible, which is more than enough to snap tree limbs and bring down power lines. Some areas could see power restoration take 4 to 7 days, especially with the brutally cold air that follows behind this system. Houston, you're on the southern edge, but freezing rain is definitely possible in your northern suburbs like Conroe and the Woodlands. Even the city itself could see temperatures drop to freezing Saturday morning, with rain transitioning to sleet or freezing rain. San Antonio sits right in the transition zone, where rain could mix with or change to freezing rain, especially north of the city. Austin, this could be one of the most significant winter weather events you've seen in over a decade, similar to the 2021 event. Now let's shift east to Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, where things get even more concerning with this setup. Little Rock is looking at a combination of heavy snow transitioning to ice, potentially one of the worst storms you've seen in years. Snow accumulations of 8 to 14 inches are possible before the change over to freezing rain Saturday morning or afternoon. Memphis, Tennessee, ice is your primary threat, with a significant and prolonged freezing rain event likely throughout Saturday. This setup could cause major disruptions to power and travel across the entire metro area, with outages potentially lasting for days. Nashville, you're looking at heavy snow with potential for 6 to 12 inches Saturday into Sunday, which will shut down I-40 and I-65 corridors. Shreveport and Bossier City face a similar ice threat, with accumulations potentially crippling the region for multiple days. Jackson, Mississippi could see its most significant winter weather event since that historic and devastating 2021 ice storm. Birmingham and Huntsville, Alabama, both looking at a dangerous mix of snow and ice beginning Saturday morning and lasting through Sunday. Now here's where the snow totals get absolutely impressive, and the Mid-South and Midwest need to pay very close attention. The European model is showing a massive snow swath from the southern plains through the Midwest and into parts of the Northeast. Areas in southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee could see close to 1 foot or more of snow accumulation. West Virginia and parts of Pennsylvania are looking at significant snowfall totals as well, potentially 12 to 18 inches in the heaviest bands. St. Louis, Missouri sits right in that zone where you could see 8 to 12 inches of snow, creating major travel disruptions. Louisville, Kentucky, and Lexington are both looking at significant snow accumulation, potentially 6 to 10 inches Saturday into Sunday. Now let's talk about the East Coast, because this is where things get tricky with the forecast and where model differences really matter. Charlotte, North Carolina. Current models suggest you could see significant ice accumulation rather than heavy snow with this particular setup. 1/4 to 1/2 an inch of ice is possible across the Charlotte metro, which would cause catastrophic damage to trees and power infrastructure. Raleigh and Greensboro are in a similar boat, where ice is the primary concern rather than snow, especially Saturday into Sunday. Columbia, South Carolina, you're right in that ice zone as well, with significant freezing rain likely for the Midlands region. Atlanta faces an interesting setup. Latest models have trended the worst ice threat just north of the city rather than directly over it. Northern suburbs and areas toward the North Georgia mountains are still looking at significant ice potential, so don't let your guard down. Richmond, Virginia is on that northern edge where the difference between heavy snow and ice is razor thin and depends on cold air depth. Norfolk and Virginia Beach are on the eastern periphery where even small track adjustments make a massive difference in what you see. Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, you're both looking at winter weather, but the exact type is still being determined as models continue to adjust. Current trends suggest a mix of snow and ice is possible, with accumulations varying wildly depending on which model solution verifies. Now let's shift to the Great Lakes and Northeast because this is where some of the heaviest snow totals are going to set up. Buffalo and Watertown, New York, you've already had a ton of lake effect snow this season, and now you're getting even more. Potential exists for 1 to 2 feet of additional snowfall from this system on top of everything you've already received. Pittsburgh and Cleveland are both in the zone for significant snow accumulation, potentially 6 to 12 inches depending on the exact track. New York City, you're looking at anywhere between 6 to 12 inches based on current model guidance, though this could shift with new data. Boston and the extreme northeast are on the northern fringe, where you'll see some snow, but the heaviest amounts stay to your south. All right, so now let me explain what's actually happening with the models, because understanding this helps you prepare better. The European model has been remarkably consistent over the last several runs, showing this exact same catastrophic ice and snow pattern. The GFS model has been trending toward the European solution, which gives us higher confidence that this forecast is going to verify. When multiple models start converging on the same solution 3 days out, that's when meteorologists get really concerned about a major event. The latest runs have trended slightly northward with the heaviest ice, which is actually better news for cities like Atlanta and Birmingham. However, this northward trend means cities like Nashville, Chattanooga, and Knoxville are now more firmly in the heavy snow zone. One critical aspect of this storm is something called cold air damming, which is going to play a huge role along the East Coast. Cold air gets trapped against the Appalachian Mountains and creates this wedge of sub-freezing temperatures that's very difficult to erode. This is why places like Charlotte and Raleigh see ice instead of rain, even though they're relatively far south. Current models show exactly this pattern over much of the southeast and mid-Atlantic, with surface temperatures well below freezing. But there's a warm layer aloft melting snow into rain, which then refreezes when it hits the cold surface. That's how you get ice. We would need to see that warm air aloft get pushed down for more areas to convert to all snow instead of this dangerous ice. Some model runs show this happening, which explains the differences between the European and GFS, but the safest bet is to prepare for ice. Now let's talk about the ice accumulation forecast specifically, because this is where things could become absolutely historic. Remember, it only takes 1/100th of an inch of ice to create serious travel problems on untreated southern roadways. Most southern roads aren't pre-treated like they are in the north, so even small amounts of ice make conditions treacherous. We're looking at ice accumulation of 1/4 inch to over 1/2 inch from central Texas through Oklahoma and into Arkansas. Northern Mississippi, Tennessee, and parts of the Carolinas could see similar ice accumulations of 1/4 to 1/2 inch. 1/4 inch of ice can snap tree branches and bring down power lines, and 1/2 inch would be catastrophic for power infrastructure. Some of the European model runs have been showing up to 1 inch of ice in parts of Arkansas and Tennessee, which would be absolutely devastating. I think that's being slightly overdone, but even half that amount, 1/2 inch, would cause massive widespread power outages. We could easily see widespread road closures Saturday, Sunday, and Monday if this ice forecast verifies as currently modeled. This isn't just about personal travel either. It impacts businesses, emergency services, and supply chains across multiple states. We're potentially looking at 3 full days of shutdowns, which is devastating for small businesses and could create supply shortages. Infrastructure damage and widespread power outages lasting for a week or more are absolutely on the table with this event. Now let's talk about the extreme cold, because this is the other dangerous aspect of this storm that makes it particularly concerning. We're looking at wind chills of 50 to 60 degrees below zero across the northern plains and upper Midwest Friday and Saturday morning. Wind chills this cold create what's called an exploding tree risk, which is a rare phenomenon that only happens at extreme temperatures. When temperatures drop to 20 below zero or colder, sap inside trees can freeze and expand, causing trees to literally crack and explode. You might actually hear these loud cracking sounds that can be heard for up to half a mile away. It's a very eerie phenomenon. Friday morning, widespread temperatures between minus 20 to minus 30 degrees are forecast across the northern plains and upper Midwest. Schools will absolutely be closed in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Dakotas because this cold can cause frostbite in minutes. But this Arctic blast doesn't stay up north. It's diving all the way down into the southern plains and even Texas by Saturday and Sunday. Sunday morning is going to be the coldest day of the week for many areas in Texas, with DFW near 10 degrees and Oklahoma City at 0. This is pipe bursting cold, folks. Make sure you're protecting your pipes by letting faucets drip and insulating exposed pipes. Monday and Tuesday will likely remain below freezing all across the southern plains and southeast, extending the duration of this event. We could even see a flash freeze back over in the southeast on Monday if any residual moisture is still on the ground. Tuesday is when most areas finally get above freezing, which means any ice accumulation will hopefully begin to melt by this point. But we could see ice accumulation persist all the way through Tuesday in some areas, which means school closures could last through Tuesday as well. Ice that starts accumulating Friday night in Dallas-Fort Worth could still be there Monday or Tuesday, creating a multi-day shutdown. Major travel impacts, power outages, and infrastructure problems are all on the table all the way through Tuesday across the South. This prolonged nature of the cold is what makes this event even more dangerous than a typical winter storm that moves through quickly. All right, so what should you be doing right now to prepare? Start today. Don't wait until Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. Stock up on essential supplies in case you lose power for an extended period. Flashlights, batteries, non-perishable food, and bottled water. Charge all your devices right now and have backup power options ready for phones, medical equipment, and anything else essential. Make sure you have multiple ways to stay warm if the power goes out. Extra blankets, sleeping bags, and safe alternative heat sources. Never use generators indoors or burn charcoal inside. Carbon monoxide poisoning kills people every single winter during power outages. Avoid all travel Friday through Monday if at all possible. This is not a storm to be caught out driving in under any circumstances. If you absolutely must travel, have a complete emergency kit in your car with blankets, food, water, a fully charged phone, and warm clothes. Check on elderly neighbors, family members, and anyone who might need help preparing or who lives alone and might need assistance. Bring all pets inside and make sure you have enough food and supplies for them to last through the weekend and into early next week. If you're in an area prone to ice accumulation, consider trimming tree branches near power lines before Friday, if conditions allow. Fill up your gas tank today, both for your car and for any generators you might have, because lines will be overwhelming Thursday. Protect your pipes by letting faucets drip when temperatures drop below freezing and insulate any exposed pipes you have access to. This storm has the genuine potential to shut down a massive portion of the country for multiple days beginning Friday afternoon. I'll be providing continuous updates with new videos as model data comes in and as this system gets closer to impacting your area. Details will absolutely continue to shift and change, but the overall signal for a major catastrophic winter storm is extremely strong. Make sure you drop your city in the comments right now if you haven't already, and I'll try to give you more specific information as new data comes in. If you found this forecast helpful, hit that like button and share this with anyone you know from Texas all the way up to the East Coast. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because we'll have multiple critical updates over the next 72 hours as this unfolds. The bottom line is this. We're looking at a potentially historic winter storm that could rival or exceed the devastating 2021 event. Over 40 cities from Oklahoma City to Charlotte to Washington, D.C. are all in the danger zone for significant winter weather impacts. Whether you see snow, ice, or a combination of both, this is going to be a multi-day event with serious widespread impacts. Start your preparation today, Wednesday, so you're not scrambling Thursday afternoon or Friday morning when everyone else is panicking. Stay safe, stay warm, take this seriously, and remember, the window to prepare is closing faster than you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next update on this historic winter storm.